Welcome to 2025 Property and Paper Live. This is Dawn Rickaba. I'm your host, and this is where we talk about owner financing and notes. Notes being the piece that can bridge the gap for us to create a full circle roundtable sort of investing where we know how to go all the way around the circle, frontwards and backwards, and that we can create solutions that non-bank, non-Wall Street solutions and a parallel economy in some situations and circumstances that's completely outside of bank financing. So I'm always trying to get people to understand a framework for how to access more of the real estate game and the note investing game, and to use that to create solutions. When you understand that it's estimated that up to 38% of properties are owned free and clear, that means there is hundreds of millions of dollars where you live in private equity, in equity that's in homes. That to me is the concept. We're always looking, where can we get money? We can get money for real estate from the people who have the equity. And also, once in a while, you can cultivate angel investors that will lend in the community for certain reasons. I've been blessed with one of those in particular that's really helped me do a lot of good things. And she's willing to lend at 5% when it's a situation where it makes sense, it deserves, and it really helps a family. She wants to feel like she's making a difference, right? She's not lending to me at 5% so that I can make a huge spread on it, right? So we work together where it can work for everyone. So does that make sense? Right all around us, I don't know, within a mile, I might have, let's say, a couple $1 million just sitting around where I live. In fact, I was talking to a guy just a couple miles down the road, has 10 acres that he's been sitting on, and he's willing to carry the paper because he wants his price. There I am going to this hedge fund that's not in one place. It's a little bit everywhere. I'm going to go hunter-gatherer, and you got to go find it. You know, if you have a property that you want to buy, you know, your kids need to get into a home, then just learn to think about that first. Think of owner financing. Don't let it be the last thing you think about. That's what the word I'm trying to get out there is. Just realize I always think of a seller of a property that I want to buy as my bank. And then only do I explore other options if that doesn't work. Now, you don't always have to be like a wholesaler where you're doing lots of marketing and hustling and digging up leads. I've bought a couple properties. Well, I knew them. They were going to be my home, right? But basically you can, if you're renting, ask if you can buy from your landlord. If there's a real estate, let's say something's listed in the MLS, you don't even have to hunter-gatherer it. You can take what's served up on the MLS. There's many opportunities that people are taking owner finance offers. I have agents that have these buyers. They've got a great down payment, let's say 30 to 50% even. They said, but they can't get bank financing. So in those cases, they're bringing them to me. I've had a few of them brought to me and say, let's help you submit an owner carry offer. And it doesn't mean you'll always get it, but I can guarantee you that you won't get it at all if you don't ask. When I first moved here from the Southern California area, they said nobody does that here. Nobody does owner financing. That's mostly what I've done for my own properties here. And of course, I've carried paper for a lot of different people. I'm always trying to figure out, how do we package up the concepts so that you understand, like relate to it and go, oh yeah, I remember. I'll just think of it as a hedge fund where I can go, or a big bank, right? A big bank where I can go make a draw, take a distribution, get my piece of it. Now I know Charlie, he does owner financing all the time. You want to tell a little bit about what you do, Charlie?
I'm in West Phoenix, and I've been here like 30 years, and I buy land and say a larger parcel, anywhere from 5 to 100 acres or whatever, and split it up into lots, generally 1 acre lots. And I sell them for example, we have $45,000 lots, 1 acre lots here in Tonopah, which is the hot area and pretty much in Arizona. I don't know, maybe you'd say the country too, but it's certainly hot. Bill Gates bought like 25,000 acres just about a mile from my house. And Howard Hughes Corporation out of Texas bought, I think, 35,000. There's another big company that bought about the same amount. I mean, huge deals. But Bill Gates is building, you might Google the Smart City is the name of it that he's putting in out here. And they're putting in a movie studio so they can wipe out Hollywood, I suppose. I guess Hollywood maybe got wiped out with a fire. They're enlarging the airport, the Buckeye Airport. City of Buckeye was the biggest growth area up until the '07 recession thing or depression or whatever you'd call it there. They had just pretty much finished building out there and it was moving into Tonopah. So now Tonopah's picked it up and they're running with it.
So anyway, just getting back to what you do though, like you take 1 acre lots, right? It's interesting. There's a Tonopah, Nevada too. So that's,
I know it's really interesting. Yeah. A lot of people
not too far apart on the highway, but anyway, you're selling these off with owner finance.
Yeah.
right?
I sell them. I started to say like $45,000 lot we'll sell for $700 down, 700 a month, 12% interest. It gives people an opportunity, that want to buy land, and we're selling a lot of it, that can't get financing from the bank. They don't have the money, but anybody can get $700. And pretty much anybody can get, $700 a month, and that's what they pay. So they own their land and they're really pleased with it. Sometimes we have water. We've pretty much gotten away from putting in wells, but I may get back into it. That's what I do.
Yeah.
Charlie, I'm just getting into that end of it from the sticks and bricks, real estate investing and flipping. I was going to ask that question of Don. Can these funds from the hedge fund be used for either purchasing of raw land, lots, to then be flipped or developed, or can they be used, these funds, for transitional funding with double closings done?
Hey, Charlie, are you getting owner financing on the
No, but that's obviously the reason I tuned in. I would really like to. Just like so many people give up on banks, even if you can get the money, it's such a hassle. You don't want it after you can get it, I would really like to, but I don't know how to find people.
Who on the call has gotten owner financing from a seller?
I get it from the sellers all the time. I pretty much only buy that way.
Well, that's what I asked you. So you're getting owner financing when you're acquiring the property.
At acquiring almost exclusively, I would say. Yeah.
And then you're selling on owner financing when you're going out their way.
I buy and sell the exact same way, yes.
Right. And so then they probably just do a partial release or something once.
Yeah, you do say if you buy a 5-acre parcel and you split it into 5 1-acre lots, then you have you do it with a title company, and the title company, collects the payments and makes the payments on the first and then sends you the balance. And that's the.
So let's take your last deal, like one of your deals, Charlie. And what was the price of it? Give me a number on just something so we can work.
Okay. Well, one of my really good deals was I bought 5 acres for 65 or something, and I split it up and I sold the lots for like 45 each.
Okay. So on the acquisition, when you bought for 65,000, how much down payment did you put? You got owner financing on that?
Yes. I think I put 15,000 down.
Okay. You had a $50,000 loan from the decentralized hedge fund, which is the equity in your market. So in the land, there's a ton of equity. And it's like a hedge fund because you went and negotiated an owner finance deal. In essence, you got a loan from the decentralized hedge fund that is the equity. Are you following me here?
Yeah, his name's Hevish.
Right?
My hedge fund's named Hevish.
And it has a different name, but anywhere in your community, there's going to be hundreds of millions of dollars of equity. People that own free and clear properties that they could potentially lend to you. Now, it doesn't mean they will. Just like if you go into a bank and go through that process, it doesn't mean you're going to get a loan. You sort of understand better. It's sort of more predictable, right? And then you become the hedge fund. I can also think of it like this. I say I've got this angel investor because she'll just loan money she's got out of her bank account, right? And she'll just loan it as loans for different things. She's not owner carrying something in these situations, but I can think of any seller that's willing to offer terms to me or anyone else. They're kind of like an angel investor too, because they have the appreciation and the value of the property. You can make a deal anywhere from 0 to 5%. Wholesalers in particular, people that are just churning in the business, lead generation, they ask for and get 0% financing all the time. Me personally, I'm usually between 3 and 5% because what they're getting is the ease, the speed, no closing costs. They have the appreciation for the property. They're getting a down payment. They're getting monthly income. And usually in exchange for the price, they're willing to carry at 3, 4, and 5%. That's been my experience. So that to me, and I guess on land, maybe you typically have to pay more in the 6 to 10 range or something like that. Maybe it would be, but I'm just saying, if you don't know about it, if you don't think about it, you don't know how to ask. And Alex, did you have something you wanted to say or ask?
I have a question. I don't know if this is a stupid question, but I'm going to find out, I guess. So I'm looking at a property that the bank will not finance.
Mm-hmm.
The owners are older. They want to go back to Ireland, and they have no interest in holding a note. However, they want to stick to their price, which is just not realistic. But it has great income. It's actually a rooming house. So the thing is, I was thinking about asking them to do a first mortgage and then see if I could sell it to investors. Is that something that could be done to take them out? So this way she gets her price, and then I can get money from selling the note in order to pay her off?
What I'm going to guess is that the terms that will make the deal good for you as an investor, as a buyer of the property, are not going to equate to terms that would net the seller the highest price on the note. So it doesn't really help if, let's say, they want $1 million for the property and they don't want to go below that. So then if, let's say you had 50% down and here's a $500,000 note, you might have to discount that to 350, who knows, to make it work based on the deal that you made. So then they'd be ahead, right? So if they get 500 from you and 350 from the sale of the note, because most notes are sold at a discount, especially or if you're in that low range that works for you as the buyer, right? 5% for you means, so if an investor buying the note needs 12% or 10%, then there's a discount on the note. So they'd only get 850 when all is said and done. They'd be better off just dropping the price to 900,000 and taking all cash. It really depends. Now, it's not impossible. I know people that create notes and sell them at par. Charlie, I think you're one of them. I think you
No, I really haven't done that.
if they're at 12%, aren't you, you're not taking a big
Oh, yeah,
discount
yeah,
when
yeah,
you
yeah,
sell
yeah.
the note.
I do that. Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, I do sell those on.
Okay,
on-
so there are times when you can sell at par, but it's usually for a homeowner when you're the buyer. When I'm the buyer of a property, I only want to pay 3, 4, and 5%. In exchange, someone defers capital gains, they get their price, quick, easy sale. That makes a good note for me. But if that doesn't make a good note for selling. If you know that someone's going to want to sell a note at closing or within a couple of years, you structure it completely differently or you don't do it at all. Maybe you do one note for selling, one note for them to keep. You can break it up. Okay, we're going to do a first and a second, or we're going to do a first and reverse engineer the whole deal so that it works for everybody. It's not hard to buy a front end partial to bring money to the closing table or very close to it. Alex, it just depends on what would you be willing to pay for interest rate and terms. Most of the time, you just have to do it by case basis. But most of the time, people are disappointed when they think, well, I'm going to sell for top dollar using owner financing, then I'm going to sell my note for top dollar too. So it's tough to get both of those to work in a retail situation.
So what I was thinking was, the price is they're asking 650, but I know they'll take 600. So I was going to put down 20% and create a note at least 10% on interest only for like 5 years, and then I was going to see if I could sell part of that note to get them off the note. But it sounds to me like it can't be done.
It seems to me if you're going to willing to pay 10%, you can find private financing to just do it. Why not just do that? That's the easier way. Just go get a loan for 10%. The only thing, if you get a loan from them, you don't have to pay the points. The biggest way to expand your investing is to build your own financial partners, collect your own people that will lend you money or do deals with you. That's the most powerful way. Right? So if you have someone that is good with 7, 8% and you can deploy it at 9 or 10 all day long without even working that hard, you easily make spread and do other deals as well, right? So that's the most powerful play. But if it's downstream and they don't mind, then yeah, see if they'll carry a 10% note. But if they don't like it, just go borrow money.
So where do you borrow the money though?
Yeah, hard money lender or I guess
Well, at
something
10%, depending on the area, that's a going rate. There's a lot of people loaning money at 10%, especially
You're
with the
talking
20
about private money investors, right?
private investors, hard money guys. You can get 10% money all day long.
Where do you find that?
Oh gosh, there are a dime a dozen actually. There's hard money brokers. You can find people all over the place. Alex, you talking about Bear Land?
No, it's a rooming house.
No,
It
but
actually-
yeah, but I'm thinking in Charlie's case, you might have an issue borrowing on bare land, probably.
Well, maybe.
Alex's case, I see it. Yeah,
Yeah. Mhm.
you might have more difficulty finding someone lending on bare land.
Charlie, as a matter of practice, really only buys with owner financing,
Yeah.
right?
You know, I buy any way I can buy. You know, if the owner financing is easy to do, well, it's not easy to do, but you can certainly do it if somebody wants to sell the property. But finding private money, or I guess you'd say, you know, an outside lender to come in and lend me the money to buy the house, to buy the land is difficult at best, I guess.
In my area, there's just a lot of people willing to lend, and they're all over Facebook groups, they're on LinkedIn, they're in real estate investor groups.
Uh-huh.
You know,
Mhm.
they're just everywhere, but the best way is to cultivate your own.
I have
No.
a coterie of people that fit this category, private money lenders, Charlie and others, because I've been a lead starter marshal at a private country club here in Houston for 8 years. And I've gotten to be friends with a lot of the members there, very wealthy members. They're almost standing in line to give me money for real estate purchases. And that's taken me a long time to cultivate that relationship for the know, like, and trust to become present. And they do. I've earned it. If you have any kind of connection with any country clubs or racket courts or whatever, where they have high-end membership, that would be it. And real estate associations, real estate investment associations are also a good spot to find those people, in my experience.
Now, where do you find real estate investment associations? Where
You can go online and
yeah,
find it
just-
in your city.
You got real estate meetups. You got Sue Ellen is mentioned. Hi, Sue Ellen. Happy New Year. Try local RIAs. And she says, I also may consider 10% private loan. Basically, if you give her some additional collateral, it sounds like. So
Well, I
to
give them a
protect
first
yourself-
lien in the note is what I do for the collateral.
First
part of
lien
it.
on the property, right? But still, depending on the deal, if someone's going to make, 10% and not charge points and all of that, they're going to want to feel extra secure. So sometimes you just ask for additional collateral. So if you have something that you own free and clear, or you have a lot of equity in, and you can say, hey, if I default on this note, you get the land back that I borrowed the money, plus you get this other piece of property. So that person knows everything's got to fall completely apart in your world before they're going to have to foreclose and go through with that.
I would definitely give first position, and I would also give a personal guarantee.
I wanted to add that there are several real estate associations that have exchange meetings, and that is something that you can join online. They do them on Zoom. Basically, people show up to these meetings with real estate they want to exchange, cash they have sitting around, they want to exchange stuff. Notes, I would say start with your local real estate association. Just go online, see if there is one. And if not, just expand out of your area. But there are many. Just do a Google search.
I used to go to real estate exchanges here 30 or 40 years ago, and I'm not even sure if they are still here, but I will check that out. I'd forgotten about that. Yeah.
They become active again to regular people, not just to brokers and commercial brokers. And because now everybody knows how to use Zoom, you can attend them across the country. So it's very interesting.
Because you're there in the Phoenix Metroplex area. There's so much real estate going on there, right? I don't know, maybe I can send out a text or an email or two from people I know that are doing a lot of business over there. See if I can help you out there. But yeah, the internet goes a long way. I know you kind of
I'm a internet idiot.
But anyway, yeah, that goes for anyone. Just like search and go to the meetings and things like that. That's where one by one you pick up, people that want to partner with you. But the main deal is you got hedge funds or private lenders that will lend you money. They're in business to do that, or they're partners of you, they're friends of a friend. They're some of the people that you sell your notes to, Charlie. Like they can buy a note on the secondary market. Now, if they have a few of your notes and they go, you know what, this guy's doing solid business. I'm happy with this. Maybe I'll be the private lender. So now instead of just wearing the hat of I'm buying the note from Charlie, I'm going to put on the hat of I'm going to be a private lender and lend to Charlie on the front end. When you can't negotiate an owner financed situation from the seller, I would go to those people. They're your low hanging fruit. They already know, they're already getting paid to just say, hey guys, how about, you know, how it's been? And then to Sue Ellen's point, if you can put up additional collateral, then that makes people feel a little,
that's a very good point. Very good point. Right.
a little more cozy. So you might in your little, do you have a Rolodex at least, Charlie?
No.
You gotta have something.
Well, I have my iPhone as much bumbling as I can do to get through to find things in there. So
Right. I'm just saying, but do you have, you know, people that have bought notes from you, right? You know how to get a hold of them?
yes.
That might be an easy place to start. In terms of, okay, how do you get someone? What kind of language would you use? There's situations where people know about it, and then there's situations where they've never heard of it before. So it can be different. But I've found that if they like the price, if they want their price, they don't want to list with a realtor, or even they do, but they're sitting on the market stale, especially those things that are sitting on the market stale. They may be open. People like lease options. I'm not usually such a fan of that, but they may be willing for a lot more open to owner carry. So then what would you do? What's the big thing? What's the big secret about how do you get an owner to carry? And then you guys have
You
heard me
just
say
gotta ask, right? That's the
you
first thing.
just have to submit an offer and they'll look at it and go, or absolutely not, or they'll find out a little bit more, realize it's not illegal and that it actually could be beneficial. A lot of tired landlords.
I think that if you shine the light on the taxation side, that can turn the light on for some.
In several times in these venues and then in the little books, you know, the Boomer Real Estate Rescue or Landlord Liberation, basically. I might change the title on that. What are the points to it? There's like defer capital gains, get income for retirement, secured by a property you already know, have a great inheritance for your children, have some liquidity, sell as is for the highest possible price, right? So there's all of these benefits that when people learn about it, if, case in point, this week, a gentleman I was talking about here locally, he'd never heard of it before, but then he goes, well, he had heard the term carry paper, but he really didn't know how it worked at all. So we were on the phone. You know, I just said, hey, if I could give you your price, can you give me my terms? Do you need your money all at once? Can you give me some time to get you paid? And he goes, well, I think I've heard of that. I think that's called seller carry. Yeah, I might be open to that. If I was going to pay you all cash, just out of curiosity, what would you do with it? In his case, he said stick it in the stock market. But a lot of people say, well, I'm going to stick it in a T-bill, in a CD, in some sort of fund where they're making 3, 4, 5, 6%, something like that. And so, well, gosh, if I could get you that same rate and you don't have to pay taxes to the IRS, your capital gains tax in the year of the sale is very small. So instead of sending all that money to the IRS, you can earn interest on it for yourself. A lot of times they'll go, okay, yeah, I'm going to do some research on that. If I'm an investor, I need below market price or below market terms. Okay. If someone wants high price and high terms, that's a retail purchase. So I'm like, maybe you want to consider listing with a realtor and just seeing what you can do. As long as I can put a reasonably small down payment and I can get the interest rate that I need, the monthly payment that I need, the term that I need. I almost told him I can pay you 100,000 more if blah, 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 right? I don't care if the property carries itself. Okay. It depends on what the purpose for the property is. Anyone want to share other things? I mean, what are your immediate cash needs? What do you have to have right now? And can we wait on the rest? You obviously got into real estate for passive income. How would it be to keep the good parts of being a landlord without the bad parts of being a landlord? There's these guys, they're thinking, you know what? In the next couple of years, I might have to put on a new roof. The lease is coming due. The tenants are kind of a mess. They're not keeping the property up the way that I want. And it can sound kind of good, right? Sell it with the seller financing, and then they're going to keep getting that payment. Usually they're going to net a lot more than they were netting in the rent. And they don't have taxes, insurance, and all of that. So when you can get really comfortable with articulating the benefits you can do it, but just, you don't even have to say it in professional lingo. And I think it's probably better if you don't use a lot of complicated language with people in general. Just say, hey, can I pay you over time? You know, would you be willing to take payments on that? What else are you invested in? Well, I want my kids to have their money. Well, did you know that they can inherit a stream of income from a note, just like they can inherit rent? The only difference is there's no management with a note, right? It's just completely passive income, mailbox money, unless there's a default or something like that. But in those cases, that goes back to, you better put your note together well if you don't want your heirs to have headaches, right? So there's all sorts of underwriting to think about, but is there any other lingo that anyone wants to share?
Actually, I'd be curious what Charlie puts on the release clause in those private notes when he's purchasing it. What sort of a language there is?
One example where I bought that 5 acres, I just put in there that whenever a 1 acre lot buyer pays that off, you know, in order to get a release, the underlying person that I bought it from has to be paid off entirely on that amount. Say, you know, if it was a $60,000 loan, you know, and there's 4 acres there, then it'd be $15,000 he would get totally out of it or whatever there. So that's what I do. In other words, the person that I buy from is protected in that he doesn't do a release on that 1 acre lot unless he's paid totally for that 1 acre lot, either in the accumulation of the payments that have been made to that point, or, you know, an additional cash payment that's made from the buyer of the 1 acre at the closing when he gets the free and clear title. Does that make sense?
So otherwise, you don't have a release until the 1 acre is paid off totally to you?
Yes. In other words, right. The person that sold to me has no risk.
Of course, yeah, I get that part. Yeah, but how about your buyer? Does the buyer have a risk in case you somehow run into any problems getting the release when your buyer paid it all off?
Charlie, what's the risk of you receiving payments and not paying the guy that you bought? So then in that case, you know, like if you take in the money and then you don't pay on your note, the end person could not end up with free and clear title to that parcel. So what's the protection for that?
The title company is the intermediary on the thing, you know,
Right. So they're the
Third party intermediary that makes the payments, not you.
right. Yeah.
But in the case that, what if Charlie doesn't make the payment to the title company?
In that case, the payment from the 1 acre lot basically makes the payment for the whole 5 acres that I bought. But
okay, so they're protected there, you know, from the buyer and all that. So
yeah, I don't basically tell them, well, look, you know, the payment that you're paying me pays for my whole 5 acres because it's not a very good selling point. But I don't feel like I really explained that very well, but I'm trying to think of a way to explain it better there. You know, when I originally buy the 5 acres, I make my payments to the title company, and the title company sends them the money to the 5 acre seller.
We get that part.
Say, for example, if the buyer of the 1 acre lot doesn't make his payments, you know, I have to make that payment, you know.
it's
So
just like you're wrapping, basically, you know, title companies or servicing companies know how to do this all the time, where they'll take the money in. So your end buyer that bought the subdivided lot is paying you right into the servicer. The servicer pays the first, anything left over goes to you, right, Charlie?
exactly.
Diane, do you have your hand raised for?
I do. Well,
Yeah.
because I think, but I might be missing something here. If he can legally sell that 1 acre, that means he has done an approved split of that 5 acre piece. And in that case, the person he bought it from can partially reconvey that deed of trust, and it clears it from that piece, and now it stands alone. If I'm not missing something, it has nothing to do with the underlying. Once they buy that 1 acre piece, it's just between the buyer and Charlie.
Well, it's just placing to the release of that 1 acre. So in the purchase money note that the original seller carries should have a language that, okay, this is what I'm doing, and if I give you X, then you release the new parcel.
Yes.
Right. So you just get a release on each parcel you sell.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. You have an agreement with the 5-acre seller, when he gets paid 1/4 of, if you're dividing it into 4 lots, he gets paid 1/4, then he has to release that 1/4 lot that's being paid on. I mean, that 1/4 of his original sales.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're at the end of it. That kind of gets down into the weeds a little bit, right? And those things can always be taken care of with, your title companies, your attorneys. I've heard it being put together different ways. So, but the point is you can see that you can buy something with owner financing and subdivide it, sell it with owner financing. But just to wrap this up, the hook of the email was to get you to go, really, all around me? It's just invisible to most people, right? If you don't know how to ask for owner financing or even know that it exists, you're not going to submit an offer. You got to think about it and realize that it can be a great acquisition strategy. It's how I got my son into a home. I got it under contract and basically assigned it to him, put him in my place because he demonstrated some financial responsibility to that level. So the better I get at accessing the equity that's stored in my local market, the more I can pass on that angel investing money to a good family who's going to live in it, right? So it's not me having to go to my angel investor and ask her to write me a check. If I can negotiate, let's say, a 4 or 5% loan with the seller, and they're still going to net more than they were collecting in rent, they become my angel investor. So I can create my own angel investors more and more if I can get sellers to carry paper, to be the bank, to get those hassle-free payments, keep the good parts of being a landlord, ditch the rest, So that's kind of how I just think of it. Like, these are owners that have a lot of equity. They're your hedge fund. Go get it.
There's a site called propwire.com that will give you this information at any zip code in the country. If you're talking about marketing in your own area, you can do this down to the zip code level or the county level. The free version will give you that. It's remarkable. If you don't have propwire.com, get it.
There's people that, they're always mailing. They're doing mailers to people that are absentee owners who have a lot of equity in their properties, right? That's a very common. They're doing cold calling. They're sending mailers. There's a lot of vendors that will sell you data too. So that's out there in spades as well. If you have a good relationship with the title company, they'll sell you data. So just think of that in your backyard. Just realize it's all out there and try to see what other people can't see. Okay. And learn to submit an offer. You don't even have to be really good at it. Just say, hey, I can give you this much. They may need a balloon payment at the end. You just don't know. But the better you get for yourself, just like Charlie, he gets owner financing all the time, even on his land, maybe especially on land. But the better you get at doing this and knowing it exists, even if you're a real estate agent. Now, not all brokers will let you participate. If you're an agent, not all brokers will let you participate in a seller finance transaction. So if you're prohibited by that, that's unfortunate, but a lot are able to do it. So just learn to submit on behalf of your buyers that are good, strong buyers, but just can't get bank financing. There's no reason you shouldn't be, submitting offers and making deals happen. I hope that was helpful in just sort of how to think about something, how to frame it so that it seems accessible and not this weird thing. Right? Owner financing, private notes, carrying paper, it's sort of obscure and people don't know how to think about it, but they've heard of hedge funds. There is a hedge fund. It's just broken up. There's no one main place where you go to get this loan from this decentralized hedge fund. You get it onesie twosie by negotiating owner finance deals when you're buying property. And either you keep that for yourself and your family, or you can leverage that to give those angel funds below bank financing to someone else in your community and still make money doing it. Anyway, I will catch you guys next month. Thank you so much for joining me and participating. It really is a great thing. I appreciate your time very much. I guess if you guys don't know, there is a cash flow online expo that Tracy Z and Fred Rui put on every year. So I'm really happy to be working on a presentation, putting together things in a little bit different way that I haven't before. But anyway, if you haven't gone there, look in your email or email me and I'll send you my affiliate link. But it's free to attend, right? But if you buy things down the road, I think they send us a little thank you for that. Go out there and create financial solutions, just one mom and pop to another. But I've kind of expanded it. It's in the context of like a farmer's market. You know how farmers market is local, organic, it's person to person, you meet the people that raise your food and all of that. This type of investing that we're talking about here is that full circle, this round table investing where you can profit from any seat at the table, buyer, seller, investor, professional, whatever. That is very farmers market. Go out there and create local, organic, free range financial solutions, just one mom and pop to another. Because if we can get good at what we do, we start making a difference and create parallel, resilient economies all around us.